How many leads does it take in order to do a deal? That is a question that I get asked very, very often, almost daily. Now, the question, really have to look at the underneath layer of that question. And because a question for many times, especially when we're talking about somebody brand new in the business that's trying to get their first deal done, and maybe this is you, the underneath layer of that is fear. Fear of making a mistake, fear of investing money and not getting the outcome out of it. And it's okay that fear exists. You want to be able to have some fear at a minimum, right? You don't want to put you got to be afraid of crossing the street with your eyes closed because you're going to get your ass handed to you. So but keep in mind is that whatever number I give you, right, whether it be my number or maybe some of our students' number, has no correlation to what your results are going to be. And that is because there's so many variables at play. The variables are that if you generate leads on either Facebook, TikTok, or Google pay-per-click, right? There's the factor of how you're going to talk to that seller, whether or not you have good sales ability. There's a property analysis aspect of it. You're going to make a good decision about what's a deal, what's not a deal. There is the aspect of the follow-up required on all those leads, and are you diligent with that follow-up and on top of those leads to get the contract signed. Once you get the contract signed, then getting the property sold, then getting it to closing. All those stages can trip you up and make a deal not happen. It's not one thing that makes a difference. It's a combination of things that makes a difference. And lead generation is just that one thing of a combination of things in order for you that you need to be able to execute well on in order for you to put a deal together. And also keep in mind is this. If I tell you that, hey, one out of every 50 leads will be a deal, hypothetically, right? And we have students that are doing that, students that are doing less. But that's over taking that in a sample size of 300, 400 leads. So that means that potentially you could be lucky. You get a deal, first 10 leads. You get a second deal, the fifth lead. And you're like, oh my God, these leads are hot. On the other side of town, another guy could have the complete opposite. He's gone through 75 or 100 leads and he's thinking, this thing does not work. He has, it's the law of averages. Like his good leads, he may not get, maybe it's 125th, 135th, and 140th lead that are bangers. And now those are the ones that really are going to make it for him, but not the rest. So sometimes you have to take into account the law of averages. And the most important thing is that most people, maybe you, underestimate the things that need to be in place in order for you to be successful with this. Because again, it's not just about the lead generation. That's a big part of it, but it's everything else that I mentioned. And you have to get all those things correct. And I say all these things not to dissuade you in any way. There is going to be always risk involved. As a successful entrepreneur, you have to be able to and accept the fact that you have to deal with a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty. That is what you're signing up for. If you don't want that, if that scares you, then you might as well pack up your bags and leave because you're not going to make big money unless you do that. And at the end of the day, you have to be okay with that. There's going to be a risk, but also do not underestimate all the rest of the pieces of this business that must be executed in the correct way in order for you to get a deal done. And your ignorance or unwillingness to accept that is to your demise. And you're not going to make any money if you don't accept the fact that perhaps you are deficient in a lot more areas than you think you are. And the lead generation, although it might help, it's not going to be your savior.